Welcome to the Whiskey, Jazz, and Leadership Podcast. Subscribe now so you don't miss a drop of straight talk you can't get anywhere else. We discuss the whiskeys to drink, music to listen to, and what it really takes to be an effective leader. I'm your host, Galen Bingham, the leadership strategist. Tonight's guest, founder and chief consultant at Silent Rock Educational Services, Dr. Precious Boyle. Hey, what you drinking? Wow, you know, a big part of that for me was an appreciation for the impact of limiting beliefs and just understanding how we all have limiting beliefs, and usually they come from something that was said to us when we were really, really young. Probably not even intended for us to hear, but we took that and we used our 5-year-old brain to build an entire story around this thing. And that's become our view of the world. And to your point, until we can take a look at those limiting beliefs and determine whether or not they're true, or maybe they were true at one point, and back to what you've been saying, they're no longer true. Right? Until we do that, then I'm going to go back to what Dr. Precious said. We're living life from an outdated view of who we are and how we believe the world works. Talk a little bit about how limiting beliefs and attacking limiting beliefs, exposing limiting beliefs, how that has continued to be part of the work that you do.
Yeah. So for one of the second nutrients that I talk about, or kind of the roots that I talk about that are in your soil, is internalized beliefs. And so when you look at your internalized beliefs, we're going to do just that. Like, we're going to dig into, what do you believe about you? And what do you believe about other people? Here's what I hear you saying you believe. Tell me what your actions are that actually match that. Because what we start to uncover is a lot of what we do doesn't reflect what we actually believe about ourselves. And if we would actually do more of that, we would be further along. We would get further faster. But we don't do that. We sabotage ourselves based on what we've seen other people do. One of the things that I had to overcome personally in terms of limiting beliefs was, I saw people, and I'm sure you've seen this type of thing before. I saw people in leadership move in a certain way, do certain things, say certain things, certain ways. So that's what I did. And I felt like, okay, if I do this, this is the script. Like, my guy that I'm watching as a leader, this is what he does, or this is what she does. So I'm going to do that. Subconsciously, what I was saying was, I believe this is the only way that I can lead, is based on what I've seen. What I had to unpack for myself was, God is bigger than that one way.
Say that. Wait. Hold up. Say that one more time. And I want you to slow down and make sure that if there's anyone that was on a treadmill, that they take some time to hear what you just said.
Yeah. God is bigger than just one way. He's so much bigger than that. And I think we get caught up and we get in our head and our feelings and in our soul and in our soul, wrestling with how to make things happen because we want them to happen the way we've seen it happen for other people. We want to lead like that, and we expect the result that person got. God is not in a box. He doesn't have just one way of doing things. And so it takes unraveling that we have committed to that one way, and we believe that that's the only way it can happen, is if we do it that way. Once we unpack that, we can see how silly that is.
Oh my gosh. And usually my experience has been, when people find the courage or they accept the permission to do this thing their way, the way that comes naturally for them, that's usually what gets the applause. Okay, so you're in Memphis?
Yes.
Okay, so we got kind of a similar home upbringing type of. You may be familiar with the R&B singer Al Green.
I am.
Okay, so Al Green tells a story about when he first came out and he was trying to get discovered. He used to sing his songs like this other singer who was popular at the time. And went into the booth and he said, "Well, how do you want me to sing it? I can sing it like this guy, or I can sing like that guy." And he said, "No, I want you to strip all that stuff out, and I just want you to just sing the lyric."
Yes.
And when they stripped all that stuff out and he just sang the lyric for the first time, Al Green was born.
Yes. Love and happiness. Yes. That, yes, we get that grit. And that's the thing about being so settled in who you are that you're not shaken by other people moving the way they move. That doesn't make me inferior. That doesn't make me second guess myself because I'm so settled in who I am. Because what I know to be true is that before I was a twinkle in my mama's eye, before my daddy named me precious, God already had a plan. He already knew exactly what he needed me to do in the earth. I was the only person who could do this. I'm the only person uniquely positioned for this, the way that I do it. There are a ton of other emotional intelligence, leadership coaches, ton of other people who play in this sandbox, but there's only one Dr. Precious who does it the way I do it.
And see, guys, this is what you get in a classroom with 30 other brilliant folks, right? I mean, I can think of maybe two who I would question whether or not they were brilliant, but the rest of them, the other 28, totally brilliant. But there was something about how Dr. Precious would come into a conversation that caused me to think, what in the world was that? So let me just ask you, where does this come from? Where did you get this comfort, this confidence, this solitude in who you are, whose you are, and why you're here? Because that's not something that comes naturally to everyone. And I'm just going to admit, any ounce of that I have myself, I just got 15 minutes ago. So where did that come from? Where did that come from for you?
I believe that I have seen so many amazing women walk this way. I just believe that generationally, confidence has been passed down. I am not an anomaly in my family. All of the women in my family are confident women. They step up to the plate and they're going to give it to you straight. I had to grow into that though. As a child, I was not this at all. I was very much like trying to figure it out and trying not to be too loud. You know, I was operating in spaces that didn't welcome the confidence that I bring now. And so I had to learn after some failures, after some no's, after some opportunities that I was like, man, I thought that was it. But they didn't want the performance version of me. They wanted the real me, and I didn't yet know who that was. So I had to grow into who I am. And tomorrow I'll be a better version of today's me. So every day is just a work in progress. It's a constant talking to myself, it's a constant fueling myself. I keep notes from different books that I've read. I know that you're also a reader. Atomic Habits is one of my favorites. So James Clear's every action you take is a vote toward the person you want to be. That's constantly a reminder for me. Darius Daniels, you will always behave in a way that is consistent with how you view yourself. Those are reminders from me. So I feed myself confidence. I don't rely on just the generational confidence that I was born with and that was passed down. I feed myself confidence.
Hmm.
I don't look for it, in random places. I'm specific with where I'm getting things, where I'm feeding from, where I'm going into my soul and really digging up like what's there that I need to build confidence in. And so, yeah, people talk a lot about self care, and I make a distinction between self care and soul care. Self care, I'm going to get my massage. I'm going for a run. I'm going to do the physical things that are temporary that take me out of my reality. Soul care, that soul care work is what is it in my reality that I need to be better at? And I'm going to do my work on making myself better in those areas. And sometimes that is confidence.
I don't know how many times I can say wow in one conversation. This is just this is an amazing conversation because you're really highlighting a quote that I have, perhaps I've burned this into my memory. This is Noel M. Tichy, and he says, if given the choice between being effective and being in control, we often choose being in control. To be effective means that we need to constantly evaluate hypocrisy gaps and be willing to close those hypocrisy gaps in order to move the initiative forward. And you have the audacity to say that you're constantly looking for hypocrisy gaps in your own behavior. And nobody does that, Dr. Precious.
I think more people do it, they just don't do it intentionally. I am intentional about it. I think most people are looking for ways to improve, but if you are not tilling your soul to see where it is exactly you need to improve in for the life that you want to live, for the person that you want to be, you're spinning your wheels. You're learning lots of things that will make you a great performer, but why perform when you can be an authentic version of you and grow in the areas that you need to grow in and be confident and comfortable in who you are and at peace when you sleep at night?
Or I wonder if many people who are on this journey, who do this work, they're improving in areas that they know are already strengths, right? Because that's comfortable. And I'm gonna get better at doing this thing because I'm already good at it. But let's see if I can get better at doing this thing rather than taking a full on inventory of where are all the places I need to play and what might be getting in my way and what might be underneath the rug that I keep tripping over, and it's affecting the entire performance, but it's affecting how I show up and how I live with me.
Yes. When it affects my show up, we have a problem because I don't ever want to show up as a performer. I don't ever want to show up as a performer. I want to show up as like, I can't be confident in performance. I can't show up confident if I'm performing because I'm waiting on the feedback to determine whether my performance is good or not. And then I need to shift based on the feedback I'm getting. I can't show up with that level of uncertainty. I have to show up as who I am. And if that doesn't work for you, I mean, I have to be a good steward over what God has gifted me in. I can't shift to your stuff.
Wow. I feel like we need to change the topic because now you're starting to step on my toes. This is getting uncomfortable for me.
I know that you have the same experience when you're coaching someone or when you're speaking. Whatever you're saying is also for you.
Most of the time. Most of the time. And okay, so let's get into this part of the conversation because I want to talk to you about your invisible board of directors. Because you've got some names on here that I'm not familiar with. You've got some names on here that quite honestly, I see on a lot of lists. So I'm not surprised. And then I see a name here that I'm intimately familiar with because she's in my mess on a weekly basis, and she's another person that again I get really uncomfortable pretty easily when she's decided that she wants to really help me uncover what's going on. So let's talk about your list. Now, I'm going to start with the one that I see on a lot of lists, but you've got a caveat here that I haven't seen. You said Michelle Obama is on your list of board of directors, but you said not Barack. So talk to me about Michelle while she stands by herself
By herself.
in her seat on your board.
Yeah, there is a wisdom of navigating spaces that have traditionally been unwelcoming or we've been seen as not valuable people in certain spaces that she's navigated. So I need her voice of wisdom in navigating because there are things that we saw her do and not do on purpose. There was a level of wisdom in how she pivoted, how she still remained true to who she is, but she was strategic in how she showed us who she is. So I need that. There's a strategy. I was coaching someone just the other day who was like, well, I don't want to, the person that he was engaging with, in essence, wanted him to show up differently. And he was saying, as a Black man, he didn't want to change who he is. And so I said to him, how about let's not change who you are? Let's strategically use who you are. Everyone doesn't need everything. And there are times and there are spaces where some people can't handle all that you have to offer. So I think there's a strategy and a wisdom that Michelle Obama has mastered in navigating those types of spaces.
Okay. So Michelle Obama, legit, that's a legit board seat. She probably has a board seat for life. I get it. Now, you name someone who has been on Whiskey Jazz and Leadership, not once, not twice, but actually three times. And I get to hang out with her on a weekly basis because she's one of my accountability partners. What do you know about putting Shana Hammond on your board of directors? Talk to me.
Shana Hammond introduced me to the world of emotional intelligence. Shana Hammond invited me to the emotional intelligence sessions that we did. She's the one. She's absolutely brilliant. She speaks my language in ways that many people don't. She's experienced failures and successes in some of the places where I'm called to. So Shana Hammond also has a seat for life. If I'm wrestling with anything, I'm calling Shana. If I'm coming to the DC area, I'm sitting down with Shana.
Wow. What makes a Shana different than a Michelle Obama? Both of them are powerful. Both of them are on your board. Is there something special about being able to reach out and touch, pick up the phone and call? Talk a little bit about how she differs than a Michelle.
Shayna's experiences make her unique. Shayna's brilliance when it comes to navigating the spaces that I directly play in, the coaching space, the leading women space, all of those things that she's doing and touching around emotional intelligence, around leadership, around Black women specifically. I'm not calling Michelle for that. I'm calling Shayna. Shayna has demonstrated mastery of that space, even in the times when it didn't work exactly the way she wanted it to, that some may consider failures. But Shayna is like, oh, yeah, here's what I learned from that. Here's how I'm using that. And I'm sure Michelle does, but I don't have that direct experience with her. Yeah, Shayna is going to be my go to. I'm going to call Shayna before I call Michelle. I'm going to use Shayna to check what Michelle said.
Really? Wow, that's strong. That's strong. Okay, so now some other names I'm not familiar with. Tell me about the other members of your board and why did you select them to be on your invisible board of directors?
Yeah. So first, my husband, Kenneth Boyle. He's an absolute truth teller. He he keeps me grounded. He makes space for me to figure out my truth. He doesn't spoon feed it to me. He doesn't push me to it. He just makes space. So yes, if I'm faced with challenging decisions in my everyday decisions, he will call me on my stuff. He is not so impressed by me that he will just let me do and say whatever. No, he will call me on my stuff and he knows how to do that. So yeah, I need him on the board. Dr. Sharon Whitaker and Ms. Lily Bowling are both people who saw me before I saw me. Yes, Ms. Lily Bowling was my 7th grade social studies teacher who became the assistant principal at my high school. So I had her twice in my educational experience, and she called me higher. She didn't let me settle. She pushed me and didn't let me settle. So I know that will consistently be her, that's how she operates. And Dr. Sharon Whitaker in college at Stillman College in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, she saw me for who I could be when I was wrestling with who I was. Yeah. Yeah. She's that. She's Grace. She is Grace. And the last person on my board is Claire Huxtable. Not Felicia Rashad, Claire Huxtable. Yes. She was my idol. She was Galen, listen, we're talking about a lawyer, a wife, a creative, a mom. I think what drew me to her as a child, she saw children as people. She treated her children as if they were people. She asked them questions. She was invested in what they were experiencing. She really poured into them and created opportunities for them to learn as opposed to telling them what to do. So many episodes of that. And that just, it's burned in me. She could be firm and flexible and funny all at the same time in the same scene. Yeah.
Wow. I'm curious about what you are curious about, Dr. Boyle. What are you curious about what you're going to be getting into next? Where do you think that this evolution might take you?
That is a great question. I am curious about how God is going to use this. I'm not curious about the what because I'm not overcommitted to a what. I'm curious about how he's going to do what he's already said he's going to do. I'm just going to walk in it. I'm going to be still and wait for it. I'm going to walk in it. I'm going to be a good steward of what he's given me, who he's called me to be in this moment. I'm not going to get over concerned with what's coming because it'll take care of itself.
You seem like you're enjoying the journey.
I am enjoying the journey, but that had to come. That is not the way it always has been. Like most people, like I'm looking at other people, I'm like, oh yeah, they're moving. Okay, they're doing this. Okay, I need to do this. I need to be on this platform. I need to be doing this. I'm over it. I know I'm settled. There's a piece about knowing what's going to happen is going to happen. It's already happening. It's not something you can make happen. I am a good steward of the choices that I have.
All right, so we've got a few more minutes on this side of the velvet rope, but I really would like you to use this time to help somebody because there's someone that's listening to this, and like me, they are just totally inspired. They're just totally enamored. They're like writing, everything that you say, and they're like, oh my God, that's amazing. But the thing that I keep coming back to is that this has been a journey for you, and you've done the work, and you're still doing the work. But the work is what has allowed you to show up with this reassuredness as to who you are, whose you are, and why you're here. What was the turning point for you where you stopped trying to wear the jackets that Sue wears, or wear the skirt that Jill wore the other day, or tilt your head to the left because that's what Jan does every time she presents. What was the turning point that caused you to step into who you are right now?
My daughter has been the turning point over and over again. She's 16. She listens to everything I say. She's coaching her friends at the lunch table.
I hope she's charging a fair fee too.
Right? Like at least get an order of fries out of this, like something. But yeah, she listens and internalizes and replicates a lot of what I say and a lot of what I do. It would be poor stewardship for me to show her anything other than what God put in me. I want her to want to be like me. So it's on purpose. I don't want her to see me going after someone else's blessing. No, I want her to see me leaning, relying, praying, trusting, being who I say I am, whether I'm on a stage or whether I'm cooking dinner. Like I want her to see me operating that way at all times. One of the things that I'm glad you brought up this idea of being a hypocrite. I saw that a lot in my life. I've seen that a lot. And hence the mantra of Me University, be who you say you are. I'm trying every day, every hour of the day to be conscious. Am I being who I say I am? How am I demonstrating my values? How am I making sure that I am being that person? And the only way to do that is to do the work, is to do the work. I can't coach other people to do the work if I'm not willing to do it. So I'm doing my own work and it shows up in being a better coach, a better leader, a better mom, a better wife to both my son and my daughter. But I want them, specifically my daughter, I want her to see this, to know that it's possible.
All right, guys, I told you to pay attention. If you missed something, I don't know. Go back and listen again because I told you on the set, on the front end, that this was going to be an amazingly memorable conversation. And Dr. Precious, you just continue to hold a space in my mind as to how special that cohort was that we met in, because we all supported each other. I've had so many members from our cohort on the podcast. I've had Michelle Navarez, the leader, on the podcast, and I think the only one I'm missing is Mr. Keith Brooks. And you've mentioned him. So Keith, hey, look, I'm doing some work with his organization, the National Fellowship of Black and Latino Male Educators, but we need to get him on Whiskey, Jazz, and Leadership. What are some final thoughts that you might have, Dr. Precious, and how can people get a hold of you if they want to test the wine for themselves? How can they get a hold of you?
Yeah. Hey, you can always email me at drprecious at silentrocked.com. The website, silentrocked.com. Reach out. There's a contact form there. I will just leave people with, we have an obligation to be good stewards of what it is that we're here to do. Be good stewards of our gifts. And the only way we can do that is by being a student of our own thoughts and actions. If we're not paying attention to who we are, what we're presenting, the energy we're sending out into the world, is it aligned to who we are called to be? If we're not paying attention to that, we're doing ourselves a disservice, because we cannot get to great life, to peaceful life, to all the beautiful things that people promise and talk about and dream about. You can't get to that if you're not being authentically who you are. We have an obligation to grow, just like the plants that grow from the ground, just like the trees. We have an obligation to grow. So yeah, reach out to me if you want some support, just growing, because we're all here to do that. And I'm just here to be a partner on your journey.
Well, fantastic. This has been another amazing conversation. If you've got a few more minutes, I got to bring you to the VIP room. They're banging on the walls. They're like, Galen, you spent way too much time with the regular general podcasters, the VIP room. And if you're not a VIP, again, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, Audrey's got to tell me how much does it cost to become a VIP? It's like $10 a month. For $10 a month, you get conversations, extra special conversations from every guest since season 2. And Dr. Precious, I just know you're going to have a great time hanging out with the VIPs. Thank you so much for this work that you're doing. Thank you so much for the way that you're doing this work. And thank you for who you are creating by sharing with other people that they don't have to stay tied to an outdated version of themselves. I love that so much. And I can see so many people who are trapped by who they either used to be or who they used to think that they were. And until they can give themselves permission to step outside of that, we're all the worse for it. We're all suffering because leaders are trapped by an outdated version of themselves. So thank you so much. And yeah, just thank you for being part of my contact list.
I enjoy it. And I have to say, Galen, you are one of the people I consider to be a giant in this work. And I so appreciate you. It is overwhelming for me to know that you see me the way that you do. I appreciate it so very much. I remember sitting at that table thinking, man, he is killing it. Oh my gosh, how can I be like that? So I appreciate you for seeing me.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Well, I just, again, thank you so much. Raise your glass, and we're gonna toast out until the next episode. Thank you. Cheers.
Yes.
Hey, it's not too late. Hit that subscribe button so you're sure to catch the next episode. If you're really enjoying the vibe, leave us a review or become a VIP for guest and show exclusives. Cheers.
This podcast is a part of the C-Suite Radio Network. For more top business podcasts, visit c-suiteradio.com.